Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that if you've got a bad leg, that's the reason I'd kick your leg out of your leg. I'm not going to be going into great visual detail on this one. Think of it as audio primary, audio only, whatever. If that's the style that you normally enjoy, sorry, next time. This is really more just me rambling my thoughts away so I can kind of move on with my day. Now don't worry, next time it'll be business as usual. I wasn't even going to do a video today, but my dumbass decided at 5 a.m. on a Wednesday that the very first thing that I would do would be watch last night's Dark Side of the Ring season finale. Now, if you haven't heard of it, Dark Side of the Ring's probably the most well put together behind-the-curtain wrestling documentary out there. They go to extreme lengths to uncover info, get testimony of the darkest moments in wrestling history. They've covered the deaths of Chris Benoit, Dino Bravo, Gorgeous Gino, Bruiser Brody, as well as industry-changing events like the Montreal Screwjob or the slap heard around the world. They talk to a lot of your usual suspects, your historians like Jim Ross or Cornette, as well as wrestlers associated with those big moments. But they've also been really successful at getting word from people fans never heard from or expected to hear from. Linda Hogan in the Miss Elizabeth episode, the police officer who was inside the Benoit house in 07, Dino Bravo's daughter, Chris Benoit's son David. And while a lot of diehard wrestling fans think we know everything about a topic that happened decades earlier, Dark Side of the Ring always manages to surprise us. The Chris Benoit special was a huge one for that. Things like, for example, while we believed for over a decade that there was no suicide note, or that Chris Benoit had no premeditation, the stuff that led into the conspiracy theories. The episode actually uncovered Benoit's diary and revealed his search history on the weekend of his death to remove any doubt and put an end to these theories. Last night's episode was probably one of the most business-shattering moments Attitude Era fans will never be able to forget. It was about the night Owen Hart fell to his death during WWF Over the Edge. Among the names spoken to were JR, the Godfather, who was Owen's opponent that night, D'Lo Brown, Jim Cornette, and the big ones, Martha, Oje, and Athena Hart. And to say that this was an emotional episode is a big understatement. Including moments where Martha and even Jim got choked up mid-sentence. Hell, I'm feeling it right now. It was very, very real and very, very painful to watch, but for the right reasons. And to see things like, spoiler alert, the actual clip that was used on Owen's harness, something that, as a strip club DJ, even I know is unsafe, as we would never ever let any showgirl, let alone an aerialist, use a clip with a release like that one, as opposed to a proper carabiner that you tighten for safety. And to think that it was supposed to hold a 240-pound man as he drops 100 feet, it's horrifying. And I feel like they actually didn't go into enough detail about that. We didn't get anybody from the rigging company, no EMTs, no backstage personnel. Darkside's always been fantastic at getting these non-wrestling professionals in, but I guess there's only so much they can fit in a 44-minute episode. The point of this video, though, is to put to bed one of the loudest arguments wrestling fans have made for years. The idea that Martha Hart is some selfish villain for not wanting Owen in the WWE Hall of Fame. That she's been denying the fans and destroying Owen's legacy, yada yada, you've heard it. I remember, but I can't find footage of, the Jobbed Out that I had done years back on the old channel when the WWE was aiming to release a DVD on the anniversary of Owen's birthday. Even then I thought, well, that must mean Martha gave the green light, which was not the case. In fact, the DVD was something put together with members of the Hart family on the opposite side of that divide. Something that was mentioned during Dark Side of the Ring, as Martha accused those Harts of trying to preserve the image of the family rather than with Owen himself. Primarily because the Harts were a wrestling family, and if you piss off the biggest company in wrestling, it would cost many people work for generations to come. There's definitely a rift there between Martha and the Harts. And you know what? That could have been an entire second hour they just couldn't get to. The more I think about it, actually, this episode was missing a lot. They only glossed over the argument about whether they should have stopped over the edge after the fall, something that I think I'm going to talk about in a separate piece, probably next week, we'll see. Anyway, I think Martha and Oje made a great case for why Owen Hart is not going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. They didn't even bring up what I thought was the obvious argument, that the WWE would be doing it so they can make money from merch and sales and footage, despite being the ones responsible for hiring a company that thought that clip would hold a body. So why should Martha and Oje and Athena, who would have to relive those memories again, why should they, knowing the circumstances and in possession of the police evidence, including the clip, that was never meant to hoist a human being safely? It's meant for boats. Why should they allow a company to profit off the man their negligence put an end to? I had seen, since Martha had conducted a couple of interviews to promote this episode, fans were actually starting to crap on her again for being selfish, and goddamn if that isn't the pot calling the kettle black. Dude, as people watching TV, and let's be real, watching a company, not the wrestlers, because you're still watching no matter who they put on the screen, how in any realm do you know better than his grieving family? What the hell sense of entitlement is that? Owen doesn't have to be in the Hall of Fame for you to watch him. How much Coco Beware do you watch right now compared to before he went in? And after all these years of watching wrestling, why do fans still think that WWE does things for the fans? Of course they don't. Just look at the wrestlers you liked that they've buried, like Damien Sandow or Zack Ryder. Look at the bookings, look at the ratings and how they've dropped, and tell me that they want to appease you, the diehard, over casuals or mainstream press. The cliché's always been that the WWE has an audience of one. It's all about Vince. Secondarily, it's about pleasing those shareholders because they're the ones that keeps Vince in enough money to keep self-entertaining. I don't know, maybe I was just raised differently, but I was always led to believe that if the family said no, you respect the family's wishes. But here we are with wrestling fans who only ever saw Hart on TV or at events siding with the company and telling the family they're the ones that are wrong. To tell a widow and 2 children of a dead human being that they're selfish because you want a 10-minute segment on a Saturday in March on the WWE Network, that's fucked up. No, I'm siding with Martha and the kids on this one, and if you really care about Owen's legacy, then how about you make a donation to the Owen Hart Foundation? Maybe help some families out, because that's all Owen would have wanted. Oh my god, I just had a flashback, because Cornette broke down at one point talking about how he had heard Owen's last words, which were, "Look out," because Owen didn't care about his own safety. Well, of course he cared about his own safety, but Owen, knowing it was over, knowing that he was doomed, was too focused on making sure that he didn't hurt somebody else on the way down. And people are upset because he's not in a Hall of Fame show. Come on. So I know this wasn't as well structured as my normal pieces, but this was a hard one for me. I remember when I was 13, a student at Steel Heights Junior High in Edmonton, trying to figure out a way to hitchhike to Calgary so I could go to that funeral, and I couldn't. I didn't have a cell phone yet, I had no contacts, I'd never even left Edmonton yet. And when all this went down, it destroyed me, man. And you know what? I was basically a fan of anybody who went up against Bret Hart as a kid. You know, Michael, Sid, 1-2-3 Kid, Owen, Bulldog, Taker. The only one I ever didn't side with was Austin, and I still kinda don't, but that's unrelated. Owen Hart was 5'11" and 240 pounds, and I remember at 13 I just wanted to be 5'11" like him, just so I could say I was the same height as my hero. I didn't get there, but that's out of my control too. So yeah, even a few years ago I was one of those fans who wanted Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame, but you can bet I was never one to go out and say his widow is wrong, screw her. And knowing what I know now, you bet your ass I'm on her side. And Bret Hart accepting an induction on Owen's behalf without Martha's blessing feels like Hogan accepting for Savage. Now I know Bret and Owen were obviously closer and nowhere near as bitter as Hogan and Savage were in those final years, but Bret would be going against the wishes of the 3 people Owen cared about most in his life, his wife and his kids. And I think that is the scummiest thing Bret could do, and a total slap in the face of his baby brother, let alone his baby brother's legacy. Whew. I knew that one was going to be hard, and that was harder than I thought it was. Of course I cut it, but I have to let you know, when I talked about the junior high thing, it took 3 takes. Anyway, this is all just my opinion. I am going to put the Dailymotion link in the full episode of Dark Side of the Ring in the description for wrestling fans who aren't in the US. If you are, of course, you should be able to find the episode on the Vice YouTube channel, but I do want to know, especially after watching this episode, so go watch that and come back. Did you think that Owen Hart should be in the Hall of Fame then? And has your opinion changed at all, knowing now what you know? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, so thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. Next time will be more of a normal episode, I promise. I'll catch you next time.